Hi guys, this is Najabella again. I was going to do a video to be part 4 of Journey into Goddess. Um, I was going to start with shadow work. Um, However, as I was doing those videos, I had a third dream. This dream was different and apart again from the two original dreams that had the snakes and the uh, jaguar in it. This one, I was riding in a car with a man. We were on a date, so to speak, and we were on a large porch, covered porch, and then we started to dance. And then all of a sudden, I was feeling very secure, very happy. Um, then I was dancing alone by myself on this porch, and I found myself alone. It was pitch black, open country. I got off the porch and I went into the brush area, and I started to go to sleep in the wilderness, basically. I knew that there was a corral where they corral either horses or cows, bulls. Um, to the side of me, there was a building which would have been like a small barn, and I could see that there was another corral on the opposite side. Um, as I was sleeping underneath the stars, a commotion started, and I knew that some animals on the other side of the barn were being attacked. I heard a man holler a particular name and that this person was being attacked, and I decided that I needed to run for safety, and in between the barn and the corral that was closest to me was like a chute where you would put the small cows when you're going to inoculate them or brand them or whatever. I ran into that area thinking it was closed and confined and that I would be safe. Sort of like the feeling of getting into a closet when you're a child just to feel safe. Then I realized that all of the animals, and they were stallions, ran off into the distance, and all I could see that these animals were all shadow animals. And a tiger leaped out and was coming towards me, and I had gotten his attention, and now he was facing me. So I thought, okay, I'm trapped. So I leaped into the corral next to me, and he pounced, and I remember just relax and let go. And so I laid there in a fairly submissive stance on my back with one hand protecting my throat chakra and the rest of my forearm protecting my chakras down my middle, and then my other hand protecting my second chakra. That in itself was significant in the dream as well, what I was protecting. But my head was up and I was staring the tiger directly into the eyes. I could feel intense pain on my feet. Both feet were, although the tiger was just sitting there, it was as if he had his paws on both of my feet and was digging in with all of his weight and claws, and there was an intense pain. And then I woke up. Describing the tiger, The tiger was like an old tomcat. He was scarred, and you could tell he was older and had been through the ringer and back, just like an old tomcat that you would find outside. And I had been contemplating this dream for interpretation for many, many days. It took the course of the first day of uh, the first day that I put the first video up was the night that I had the dream. Going back over all of the emotions of what led me to the goddess that attached herself to me brought up those feelings again. So I thought, well, I didn't understand what the tiger was. The tiger has been a power animal of mine since I was a little girl. I'm born a water tiger by Chinese astrology, but a tiger, a panther, and a jaguar have always walked beside me since I was very, very small and before I knew what a power animal was. But this tiger was different, and he was beat up, and he was like he'd been through some crap in his life, and he wasn't there to hurt me. Although the pain in my feet meant something to me as well. I realized that he had run off the other men in my life, the stallions. The name that was called was a particular man, and he ran them off. So I thought, well, is this my ex-husband? Is this one of my ex-lovers? One in particular came to mind. I thought, I made a joke to a couple of my friends that whoever he was, apparently I'd put him through the ringer and back because he had a lot of scars on him. I just half-wittingly joked about that. Then I realized, yes, that tiger was my ex-husband. It was an ex-boyfriend. It was a second ex-boyfriend. But it was me. And it was the injured me. It was the self that I had separated from. Indian shamans would, Native American shamans, excuse me, would say that that was a lost part of my soul from when I was younger and all the injuries and insults that I had acquired. So those scars that I was laughingly saying that I hadn't done to this other person, that other person was myself. And the reason that it was also those three other men was because when you are a soul that is hurting, you basically attract people into your own vibration. So they were me and I was them. And that's part of doing the shadow work, is understanding the you that has the common denominator in whatever problem you're going through. I had gone through these experiences because of them, but I also, because of myself and how I vibrated in. So the moral of my dream was that in Native American shamanism, it's called soul retrieval. I'd come full circle. My injured self was coming back to be melded back together with my healthy self. The stallions that were being run off were the people who no longer served me. They served me when I was injured. They served me as I was healing. But now the tiger was running everybody off, and I was being melded back together. The pain at my feet represented the root chakra. I know that is not technically where it is, but actually it is, because that's your feet are where you're grounded and anchored and rooted. And that's where the melding was beginning, was through the feet and coming up through the internal body. From that day, my happiness had been unbelievable. My energy through the roof. My interaction with men out in the world had been that of a much healthier reaction. Innocent laughing and joking together, not anything of sexual nature or anything like that. More to learn to friends first and let the relationship develop kind of pathways. I just wanted to share that that was part of an affirmation for me, that I had been doing my shadow work, been doing it for 5 years. And through this time, I've learned a lot about myself. But it came down to something that happened to me as a very young child, and it had nothing to do with anybody hurting me. But it was how I picked up the signals from that as a child's mind. Mine was, oh, it's just toy. It's just her. She'll be okay. We need to tend to this person over here because that's just toy. She's all right. It came about at this time last year at my family's house when my mother was telling a story of when I had been injured when I was about a year old. And I was okay at that point when I was in the emergency room. I had been running around with a ruler in my mouth, and somebody had opened a door and it shoved into my throat, and it had injured the back of my throat, and it was those old-fashioned rulers that had the metal strip down the side so I could cut the inside of my mouth, and there had been a lot of blood, and my mother immediately ran to the emergency room. My father went with her. They were all there. They were loving me. They were caring for me. They were scared. Everything that they should have been. But when they got to the emergency room, there was a baby that was around 6 months old that had bitten down on an electrical cord. The baby was in shock. It was foaming at the mouth and was clearly in danger of dying. When my physician got there, he saw I was playing and happy and okay, but he saw this lifeless baby shaking in his mother's arms, and he immediately went to try to help the baby. That's just called triage. And as an adult self, I would want my doctor to go straight for that baby. But they refused to let him touch the baby because it was not a he was not a doctor on staff at that hospital. And the parents were young, inexperienced, and they were terrified, and they were hearing this hospital say, oh, you can't touch this baby. So they, they were still waiting for a doctor to take care of their baby. The doctor took care of me, turned to my parents, and said, I will never come back to this hospital again. If you call me, I will not show up. You will go to the other hospital. It wasn't that many blocks away, maybe 5 blocks away. And otherwise, you find another doctor for here because I'm not ever coming back. Now, the family story was, it's just toy, she's okay. She's all right. And as I understood that the baby was in dire need of attention, I started repeatedly getting that message through my life in my early years. And that led me to all my situations with everyone else, my major relationships in my life. So it doesn't always have to be abuse. It doesn't always have to be, it can just be a misconception. Something that the child's mind picks up early on that gives you how you interpreted it. And it can be something that has no even, you may not have any awareness at all of the original hurts, the original misconceptions that the child's mind does. I wasn't a mature mind at that point, so there was no way I could reconcile those experiences. That was a family story that was told frequently. Then when I was almost 3 years old, I was in a park with my sister, and they had this really tall slide, and I was being selfish because I was being less than 3. Nobody corrected that. I wouldn't let her slide down the slide. So after I would slide down, I would start climbing up it so that she couldn't go down. And I finally did that so many times that I got dizzy, I fell, and I cracked my head on the cement below. Of course, again, they picked me up. But really, that story got translated into, oh, it's just toy, she'll be fine. Now, they did take me to the hospital, but they never mentioned that because no major traumatic event had happened at the hospital. So they never put that in. It was almost like, well, they didn't even bother to take me to the hospital because just toy, she's all right. She's always okay. Don't worry about her. Let's worry about over here because they're the ones that are, But that wasn't what happened. But in my mind, my child mind, that's what I picked up. Didn't think I was deserving or as good as because I was just toy. So I just wanted to let y'all know that the shadow work goes very deep. And there's so many layers to the onion. And I went through 5 years of this shadow work. And I had to go back through each damaged relationship and figure out what my part was, where it came from. And this is why I have to say, I had an abusive husband. I could have blamed him all day. But I don't want to focus on him because I allowed all of that. I chose him. I perpetuated that. I did all of that. And it was because I was just toy. And just toy doesn't really deserve is what everybody else thinks. Just toy doesn't um, have to matter. And so I didn't matter to myself. I didn't put myself first in any condition anywhere. It's why I comfort eat. I was always strong. I was always stubborn. I didn't feel pain the way normal people felt pain. And that's why they didn't think that I needed the same coddling as maybe somebody else. So I don't blame anybody. But it is something that I had to experience. I had to get to the bottom of it. And now I can let it go. And now it's freeing and liberating because now I understand. Yeah, well, just toy. Well, just toy takes care of this family. Just toy does is the rock, is the caregiver, is the person that you want her to care about you, so that I take care of you. So just toy also needs to be taken care of so that she has the strength, the wisdom, the power, the appreciation, all of those things, so that I can even give and do more from my healthy self than from my damaged self. But I can start by doing all of that stuff for me that I didn't do before. Even in my magic work, I didn't sit down and say, Toy needs prosperity, so Toy's going to do a prosperity spell for herself. I could do things for other people. I could, but I didn't stop to do them for myself. And I just wanted to share that I'm seeing it all around as well. As I went through that, I saw Karen Adamski's video that she did yesterday. A friend of mine, Brandy, just hit upon hers. All of this stuff happened in such a young, tender age of us. I just saw an Abraham Hicks video that came up this morning out of the blue about psychotherapy in the first 5 years and beliefs that we didn't even give name to, that we didn't even realize were there, but they were still feelings and emotions that had happened to us at such an early age that we don't even know the root causes of most of them. And it doesn't matter. Like I said, in my case, it wasn't because anyone was abusing me. My parents weren't neglecting me in any way. Dr. McCaskey wasn't putting me second because she's not deserving to be first. Had nothing to do with that. It was just simply the order of events at that day and that time and how it passed down and how it was still traumatic for my parents to see that 6-month-old baby with that. And in that point, they felt gratitude that I was not that 6-month-old baby that had bitten down on the electrical cord, that I was sitting there playing and happy in their lap. They were happy about that. It wasn't that any of that emotion was the negative emotion of that day that probably embedded at the same time those concepts were embedded were for the fear of the other baby, the terror that a parent feels when they see another parent going through something that is their worst nightmare. They don't want to. This is where this came from. And I just thought I would share that as part of the shadow work and going deep within you. And like I said, it was 5 years of going through that onion, going back and back and deeper and deeper and deeper. And like I joked to my friend Brandy the other day, that onion just seems to, that's where it reblooms from. It blooms from the center. I just made potato soup yesterday, and one of the potato soup was going to cut up an onion. I grabbed my onion, and right from the center, the greens had grown out of the onion. And so what I did, I chopped it off, and I chopped up those greens and put it in my soup instead of chopping the onion up. Because I thought how metaphorically beautiful the universe gives us all of those wonderful signs. And I just wanted to share that. This will be part 4 of my journey into Goddess. And now it is about soul retrieval and putting the pieces back together and learning to come from a standpoint of a healthy psyche. Thanks. Blessed be.